Hello. Today is the best day ever for myself because I have two of my not immediate family, the most important people in my fucking life. So this is like, I feel so supported right now. Like, I feel like I might turn this into a therapy
This
session for
episode is for
myself.
Mari, actually.
Yes,
So.
I might just be like, let's talk about our relationships because it means the world to me, right? Like, again, aside from my immediate family and Sophia, but and we got a lump Jeff in. I'm just kidding. But like, I have known, and this is going to also be weird for us too. I have two Stephs who are so extremely important in my life. So I haven't figured out how I'm going to differentiate them. Maybe I'll just
with
say
an F and Steph with a PH, but they're not going to know the difference.
Yes. So Steph, Bug's mom, is Steph with an F, and Steph, my person, is Steph with a PH, right? So, and this is a hard thing too, is because they're both my people, but it's like for such different reasons, but I love them so much. Anyways, now let's get into the reason as to why I have both of them on video. So this is episode 85. This is the new year, new me. Mm-hmm. We're so excited to be continuing with our interviewing series. And I was so jazzed up for this. I thought, what would be better than having a finance episode, right? And maybe turn it into a financial series type thing. Who knows? But I was like, I struggled so hard. Like when I turned 18, I went fucking wild with.
What was your first credit card?
Old Navy.
Mine was Express. I don't even fucking shop at Express, but everybody's like, go to Express, you'll get a credit card. I'm like, okay, bet.
Yeah, and I did. When I tell you I had upwards of like, and Steph has seen way worse, way worse. Steph with a PH has seen way worse. Of like how many credit cards people have actually had. But I had like upwards of like 20 credit cards at one point for like all the different like, but I didn't use all of them at the same time, but like all the different stores, and like, that's not fucking okay. But anyways, so I, at 18, went wild, right? And I have always struggled with like how to budget finances, like what that looks like. I never understood the concept of money. Like my mom and dad are both very, very, very hard workers. Mm-hmm. And so I wanted to be able to be like them. And I was a hard worker, right? Work ethic is a huge thing. So I went and did that. But then like no one taught me what I should be doing with that money. So I feel like an asshole. So the purpose of this episode is we're inviting Steph to come and discuss finances because Steph, I feel like I've said this multiple times, but it bears repeating all the time, or begs repeating, whatever the fucking way to say that is that I am so impressed, enamored, like just in love with the way that you budget and the way that you have just understood finance from what seems like a very young age. And I'm not sure we're going to get into how that came to be, but just like the way that you are with money is just beyond impressive to me. So when I thought of the finance series, I was like, there, Steph, done. She's coming on the podcast. So welcome, Stephanie Nisler.
Hello.
I love you so much.
I love you too. And I love you too, Steph with an F.
I
love you.
Love you Steph with an F. It's like a Dr. Seuss rhyme. So
I love it.
Let's start. How did you get into finance? How did that even come to be?
I'm a math nerd.
We are not the same. Stephanie, we are not the same. I am so far from being a math person. Oh my God.
Same. So I tell people why I became a therapist, because there's no math.
No, when I was young, I just really liked doing math. Like my mom and me would be at the store, and this was back in the day when cash was like the number one payment method, right?
Yeah.
So my mom would always try to see if I could beat the cash register to figure out the total and to figure out what the change would be.
Oh my God.
Mm-hmm.
So I was really fast with just mental math when I was a kid. And then as I was taking math classes through all like the normal 12 grades or whatever, I loved it. And when I went into college, I actually wanted to go into actuarial science, which is like 99.9% math to assess risk for businesses.
That's what I thought that was. Okay.
Yeah. But so when I was like 12, you know, I don't know if you guys had this where your mom like had the talk about life with you.
Yeah.
No, Kathleen was just at her third job for the day, so she was like, figure it the fuck out.
So I vividly remember at like 12 years old, my mom worked at restaurants all my childhood.
Yeah.
And at like 10, 12 years old, I'm sitting in one of our living rooms, and this is like 10 p.m. She comes home from work and she's like, you know, I really want to talk to you about being a woman. I'm just like,
You're like, we're doing this right now. Okay.
You were like, my period? Or she was like, no, math.
oh no, she started off with my period and then it ended up a financial question. It was a weird, if you knew my mom, that was my mom. But
She was the best.
but essentially what it came down to is she talked about being a woman, being someone that needed to be able to like handle their own stuff.
Yeah.
Because she never was able to do that. Like up her entire life, like probably the last 20 years was when she was the best at her finances, but she got married young, got pregnant young, had a baby young, that
Sure.
she was always overextended. And so although we never wanted for anything, that led to a lot of problems with my parents.
Sure.
Because not between them, but like debt,
Yeah.
bills, collections, and things like that, that because I was so math minded, my mom and my mom were extremely close, that she would kind of give me an eye into that. And so like at 12 years old, I started thinking in the back of my head of like, okay, I need to be really good at finances. I need to make sure that I don't rely on anyone.
Sure.
Yes.
So I went into school to be an actuarial scientist, and I can give more background on this if you'd like, but I decided to go to UW Parkside, which is a very small school in Kenosha, Wisconsin. It's a UW.
Yes.
It's a UW certified school, but like it gets this rep for being such a small school. And I just was like, I don't care. It's a UW certified school. Like it's affordable, and it has the classes to become an actuary. Like it would give me all the background to do it. But when I was going to school, I hated the math department. And this is me and my own opinion.
Sure.
I cannot say this enough that this does not reflect on anyone but myself.
Sure.
Yes.
The math department was extremely sexist and very difficult to function with. So I was one class short of a math minor and you know me, I'm not a quitter. I was like, no, I'm not doing this. So I switched my focuses to business and economics, which because anytime you go into math, they highly suggest that you combine it with one of those other two. And I'm an overachiever. So I did the other two. And when we were going through that, I had two kind of choices. I could either go the economics route, which was looking at the economy, working at the Fed, that kind of stuff, being an analyst for a bigger company, or I could go the financial route, which kind of also would have been the Federal Reserve, which was one of my goals at one point, or I could work at a financial institution, which is where I ended up going.
Yes.
Interesting.
Long story long. There you go. You got it.
No, but it makes
long story long.
It makes sense, and I don't know. I think that's really fucking cool.
Yeah, I love it. I never wanted for anything in my childhood. So a lot of the struggles that I see with people coming out is stuff that I can't personally relate with.
Sure.
Except that my parents went through that and tried to hide it.
Oh, interesting.
And so when I started working where I work now, I started off just as like a basic person that could work on accounts, could work on loans, could work as a teller, could do kind of all of it. And my focus really got into wanting to work on loans because I saw a member of the loan area do like a huge consolidation for a member that lowered their payments by like $1,000 a month, consolidated everything into my institution that I work for, that I was like, didn't realize that was a thing.
Mm-hmm.
And that was 6 years ago, and I have never looked back.
Well, and it's like you're in the business of doing something that makes people feel relief and feel good. You know what I'm saying? And like
Yes.
that feels nice to be able to like tell
Yes.
somebody like you are going to have more financial freedom, or like you're going to see the other side sooner than you thought, which I think is amazing.
And I love that. And I'm very lucky to work for an institution that I don't ever feel pressured to lie.
That's awesome.
If we don't provide the best service, or that for some reason I can't do it because of our guidelines, I can flat out tell someone, I'm sorry, like you're getting a better interest rate here, you're getting a better payment where you're at, or, you know, this is why I can't approve you, and be very frank with them about it. And I love that aspect.
Well, it's a respectable thing.
Exactly. And it's really hard to think of helping people in a way other than mental health, physical health, doctor, you know what I mean? And I actually get to see a lot of the outcome of people that have gotten themselves into financial binds, or some going through traumatic life events that I'm actually able to help with. And I'm like, oh my God, I get to help people.
Yeah.
I am a helper as well.
Exactly.
Yes.
When I filed bankruptcy last year in 2021, like I started at the end of 2020 and it was finalized in 2021. While that was one of the most stressful experiences of my life because of how much information they need, it was also like so emotionally freeing to be like, it's done. It's done. Now I can't have credit cards. I don't need them because I can't be trusted with them. So just fucking get over it, right? I can't buy a house tomorrow. That's fine. But yeah, I think if I had been taught, not that my parents didn't teach me how to be responsible with money. They did basically just told me don't get credit cards. And I was like, I'm going to get them anyways.
You're like,
I'm going to go ahead and make some bad choices. But I think if I would have been taught more about, I don't know, like how to be smart with your money, which sounds like exactly what you do, I think things would have probably been different. I'm just so like, I'm sad, I'm going to go shopping person. So that's
no, 100%. And I think it's about too, like learning different coping skills to replace that urge to want to have this. It all boils down to instant gratification, right?
Sure.
We are in a society where if I want, you know, a bottle of wine delivered to my house in an hour, I can have that. If I want to immediately watch this game that's playing over in, you know, overseas and I don't get it, I can sign up for the thing and get it immediately. Like money will get you anything in this world besides like stability and happiness. like spending, I should say. Spending will get you anything in this world besides like stability and happiness. So it's such a huge thing. I think, Steph, when did I meet you? Were you like 16, 17? How old were you?
I was 18.
18. I do this every single time. Fucking 18.
How old were you? 6 when we met? Or
actually, I was still in the womb.
You were 4.5, right? Like I held you as a baby for the first time.
Yeah.
Was that it?
I was smoking a cigar, dealing money.
I was at Potawatomi handing out cards. Steph came to work at the restaurant that we both used to work at when she was 18 and I was a waitress, and we don't need to get into the schematics about how shitty I was in the beginning, but I was just putting her through the ringer to see if she was going to be a good employee or not that I was the owner of the business, but I was at that point so sick of the busters that we had. I was like, I'm not fucking making friends with another one. I'm not. We'll see. If she can fucking be a good worker, then maybe I will. And now here we are, I don't know, 82 years later. Just, I'm obsessed with her.
32.
Okay, so 3 years younger than. Okay.
Like obsessed with her. Like, I love you so much. Anyways, so the first time that we really started talking about budgeting, or like not talking about, but like that I paid attention to how good you were with money was when you told me that, whether or not, I don't know if this is necessarily true, but this is how I remember it, is that you didn't take out loans for college. You just paid your tuition.
Yourself?
Yes.
What?
Stephanie, when I tell you, I like literally shit my pants. I was like, I'm sorry, you just paid for your semester? And she was like, yeah. And I was like, how? And she was like, saving. And I was like, that's not real. What else did you do? And she was like,
when I was best at saving money, when I was like 12, 13, 14, and I was babysitting all summer, and I would save my money all summer to go school shopping. And then it was like, once I got a real job at like 15, 16, saving was like, no, I'm not doing that. I want to go hang out with my friends. I want to go shopping.
Yeah. And money wasn't real. Like when I was working as much as I was, as young as I was like, this isn't real. This is not real. Like, this is monopoly money. Like, how am I bringing in this much money? Like my check is $500. And back then in the fucking early 2000s, it was like, that could get you a shit ton of things. Like, whereas now it's like, you can probably get a bag of oranges and a gas,
Probably.
but that's about it.
Yes.
But so that was the first time that I was like, are you fucking kidding
That's
me?
fucking impressive, dude.
Isn't it?
I do want to clarify. I took out loans for my first 2 years. My last 2.5 years, I did not. So I just want to clarify that.
Yeah.
Here, Stephanie, do you have those school loans? Are you still paying on them? Okay. Okay. Have you been paying on them the past 5 years at all? Okay. So she didn't take out loans, basically.
Do you take out loans? Like, do you have a car loan, or do you like pay for cars in cash?
No, I don't. Okay.
Or are you Jeff? Are you Jeff? Do you just pay for cars in cash? That's weird.
No, I do take out loans. I prioritize them a lot. And I've been very lucky that when I was in, I was going to say high school, hopefully in high school, but when I was in college, I still lived at home with my parents. So I wasn't paying rent, and I was able to use their car a lot. And so all of my money was being pumped into savings. And then once it got to the point that I was like 22, I was like, I should probably buy my own car. I should probably do that. But once I got it, I had this immediate feeling. This is not the appropriate feeling to have at this. I had this minute of dread because I was like, oh my God, that's expensive.
Yes.
So I adopted this kind of mentality that it was like, I know that I only have to make the minimum payment, but right now I have nothing on my docket that I need the money for. I'm throwing everything I got at it. So I do take out loans. I do have credit cards. I've had vehicle loans. But yes, I just try to pay them off faster than normal, which goes a lot into my lifestyle. I'm a very simple woman.
She is a very fucking frugal person. When I tell you, we just went to Firefly together. I fucking love you so much. I realized that we went to Firefly, had Firefly, and then we got to DC, and I was like, bitch, I don't have any fucking pajamas. I left my pajamas in the fucking car, and we valeted the car, and I was like, I'm not fucking going downstairs again. She was like, I have another shirt, another ECU shirt. I'll black that out. But I was like, I have another shirt from her financial institution that she works at. And she was like, they're free. And I just keep using them. It's like, she's like my sister. They're so frugal in that sense of like, fuck do I need new clothes for? That sounds dumb as fuck. I would rather go on this vacation. Or I try. I will. And I've done very well. And we'll get into that of like how we really came to be like interlocked best friends of like my journey. But her and my sister very much so are the people who are like, no, I would rather do this or pay for this, or like, this is my priority when I'm like food and nails and pretty things. That brings me joy. So I will buy that. Thank you. and then I'll just stress the fuck out about this ever looming debt that isn't going away. But I can't see it. So out of sight, out of mind, object permanence.
When you did what you called your pilgrim budget, and what was it, 2016? Was it 2016?
It was 2018. So let's say this.
It was before that, wasn't
it? No, it wasn't, because I got divorced in 2016. And then I got hit with the 2017 tax year I owed, and then 2018 I owed, 2019 I owed. So 2018, the summer of 2018 was a summer of hell. My air conditioner broke. I pulled all the muscles in one of my rhomboids, which cross over one of your shoulder blades. And then something else, my water heater went out. And so I literally was like, and my property taxes have always been high. So my property taxes, since I've moved in 12 years ago, so there's fluctuation in 12 years. September was 12 years in this house. There is fluctuation. So I think they've gone up $1,500 since I've been here. Yeah. So now I pay $4,800 in taxes, almost $5,000 a year in taxes. So in 2018 in the summer, when I needed a new air conditioner, which was $2,600, I needed a new water heater, which it would have been $800, but by the grace of God, my cousins were remodeling a house. They have a thing. This water heater was barely used and the homeowner didn't want it. So they gave it to me. And then something else was going on. I don't know. And then obviously I had credit cards that I did not manage appropriately, wasn't doing well, was just like paying minimum or trying to like pay. Like I would take
Well, and it was the beginning of private practice, right? Of Pathways.
It was 2017.
Okay.
And then fully May 2018, I left Rogers and then came to Pathways. So then it was like adjusting to only getting paid once a month. And then like not treating my waitressing money as like free for all, or like doing whatever I wanted with it. And, or then I would like, so I would say I would have, okay, I've got $800 left for the month, which at the time I didn't know. Now I know. But at the time I was like, and I would just take all that money and put it on credit cards, leaving me with absolutely nothing, thus racking the credit cards back up again. And I'd be like, why is this happening to me? And Steph was like, oh, I think it's pretty obvious. Like, and I was like, no, I don't see it. So then 2018 came, summer of hell. And then I was like, oh my fucking God. Oh my God, I have to pay property taxes. Mm-hmm. I haven't been, because the place that where I don't know if I hadn't refinanced to the new place yet. So I feel like I had some money in an escrow account, but like I was like, I'm not going to be able to afford any of this. I don't even know what to do. Like, how do I even get out of this? Like, it was to the point where I was like, should I sell my fucking house? Like, what do I do? Mm-hmm. And so I went to Steph and had a very, very humble moment of like, bitch, what do I do? What do I do? How the fuck do I even begin to climb out of this? So she was like, okay. And this is the thing that I love and appreciate so much about Steph, is that she is a Libra. She's very balanced when it comes to things that she like is passionate about and she's like loves about. Yes. Right. Like, so, and Tara's the same way with finances, but I felt like I couldn't go to Tara just because my own, like, she's going to judge me.
Of course.
And like, whereas like Steph was just very, very,
matter of fact,
like even scale about it. Like, yeah, very matter of fact of like, okay, let's sit down. Let's talk about this. And she was like, here's the thing. You have to be entirely honest with me, because I cannot help you if you're not being entirely honest with me. Sure. So this process isn't going to be fun. And I'm going to say things that you do not like. And it's up to you whether or not you make these choices or decisions. It doesn't affect me. I want to help you. My best friend, I would love to see you thrive. But like, ultimately, you have to make these decisions and choices. And I can't do that for you. Yeah. And I was like, okay, I can do this. And I really do feel like I did commit
that time,
like wholeheartedly. Yeah, I went to her before and I did not commit, but I can't even remember. Maybe that was, I don't know when that was. Maybe it was when I was still married, or maybe before. Maybe there's like 2 or 3 times I probably went to her. But that time I was like, no, I literally am in the frying pan right now, and I have no idea like what the end of the year is going to look like. How am I even going to do this? So what we did is I took all my bills. And I have to make that gesture because there's all the bills. And we wrote them all out. We wrote because she was like, well, what's all going on? And I was like, I don't know. Lots. She was like, no, you should know that number, Mari, off the top of your head. Like, sure, it will fluctuate occasionally. And I was like, I really don't know. Like, I could tell you what my bills cost. I don't know what the total number is. I don't know what's on this credit card. I've been avoiding it because I don't want to know how much that is or what the balance looks like. So took it all, wrote it all out, wrote what's coming in, wrote like estimates of what that's going to look like. And then she started to teach me how to like write things down that you needed to write down that you don't think about, right? Like I never budgeted for toilet paper. I never budgeted for that. I never budgeted for people's birthdays or presents. I didn't budget for my water bill. It's a bill, bitch. Like it's coming around again. But I was like, oh my God, 3 months later, and I just got slammed with this bill out of nowhere. And it's like, you knew it was coming, whatever. So I had a whole like coming to Jesus moment with myself, but like taught me how to budget for those things, taught me how to put money away. And then taught me how to be okay with using my savings for things that are needed to be used, like to use your savings for. Like, because you pass
that on to me because you're like, bitch, that's what you have a savings for. So when you get a brand new tire or when now doing office stuff, and I have to be okay with like, it's there for a reason versus I can't touch it.
Yes, it was wild. And I remember passing my first 1,000 in savings, and I was like, oh my God. And she was like, oh, I'm so proud of you. And I was like, I'm rich. And she was like, whoa, That is your savings. Like that is not disposable. You don't view that as like money that you have. It's there, but you like, and I was like, oh, you're right. I am not rich. I'm rich in savings. And she was like, good reframe. Like, but don't touch that fucking savings account. So then I branched off now out of my Pilgrim budget into what works for me. Like, so I think what works for me is being able to see I have multiple savings accounts, and it feels better for me to see it all split up. Like I have a savings account for my water bill. I have a savings account for my business. I have a savings account for revolving bills that come out of my business. I have a savings account for travel, for health, for my car. And I feel like that's all. Like I think I have 5 and then 2. So 7 total. Because I in my brain, for me to function, I need to see it all separately. Because if I just see that lump sum number, I'm like, there's wiggle room in there. I can use some of that. And I have to teach my brain to know, like, no, bitch, you cannot use some of that. Like there's specific reasonings as to why you separate your money. But Steph's guidance through it all was unbelievably helpful and necessary, because I would say, okay, this is how much money I made. What do I do with it now? And like, that's what helped me learn how to budget. Like I would say, okay, I made this much extra so say I waitress for the weekend. Okay, I'm bringing home 420. We budgeted 160 the one night and 200 the one night. So that, 360, but I have 420 now. Was that $60 extra?
60.
I'm so terrible with math. So I was like, I have $60 extra. What do I do? Like, tell me what to do with it. And in the beginning, she would tell me what to do, but then it would be like, because I was being so honest, I was being so open, there would be moments where I got rewarded. And she'd be like, take that and do something. I'd be like, oh my God, I'm rich. Like I would either go get food or a shirt or something. But then it got to the point after like those moments, she'd be like, do whatever you want with it. And I'd be like, I'm going to put it into my savings. And she'd be like, yes, silent win, you're learning. Because in the beginning, like, there was so many times where I was like, but I really want to do this. And she was like, okay. You can do that if you want to.
And then you're
just
like,
know.
oh, now the shame. So
Yeah,
gonna.
she was like, you can do it if you want, but yeah, I mean, you know what your goals are, and I can't make that decision for you. And I was like,
I respect that.
I was like, I needed that. I don't like it, but I needed that. I needed it. So I feel like I have come such a long way for being able to budget. And like okay, every now and then, maybe like once a year or twice a year, I'll randomly like put on Facebook and just be tagging stuff in it and thanking her, because I just get to these moments where it's like I think too, even when I got my office, of being like, none of this would have been ever fucking possible without your guidance and being able to understand how money works, and like how just a budget is so fucking necessary to your life. So my big question to you, which I think would help a lot of people, is, well, there's a two-parter. So the first one is what are certain factors that you need to take into consideration when you're starting to look at like, okay, I'm thinking about doing a budget?
Be realistic.
Yes.
You have to be very honest and realistic with what your needs versus what your wants are.
Yes.
Okay.
Because that is the biggest trip up I think that people don't get. It's like, I need to get my nails done. It's like, no, you want it, like, I totally understandable want.
Yes.
Sure. I need Starbucks.
Do you?
You want Starbucks, and that's okay. And it's just that's my biggest probably piece of advice, is to be just very honest with yourself. Mm-hmm. Take a second and write it down. Everything. Mm-hmm. Write it all down. Mm-hmm. Take a week's worth of spending and write down what you spent it on. Mm-hmm. And then be very realistic. One thing I'd like to point out about Mari's budget is it was not always sunshine and rainbows. There was a lot of tears and difficult moments. And in the beginning, we had tried doing a budget for her 2 times where she just wasn't ready. And I'm not going to shift my thought process when I'm
Mhm.
helping someone do a budget. So if she doesn't want to stick to it, that's fine. It doesn't affect me. It
Mhm.
affects you in your
Correct.
future. And I vividly remember you were still at Rogers at the time. You had
Mhm.
gone over to Target and you sent me a picture of sunglasses.
Mhm.
And you were like, I really want these. I'm going to get them. And I was like, oh,
Oh man.
like, and at that moment, that was like the moment that stopped the budget, because she could tell I wasn't judging her, but I was just like,
Do you need that?
you
Or
don't need
do
that.
you want that?
You have 75 pairs of sunglasses
Yeah.
already.
And at that time I did. I did. I had like 10. For what?
But a lot of people disregard the little stuff. Your Netflix, your Netflix
Dude.
subscription.
Subscriptions add
Yes.
up.
Like they do. And I know my ex had literally 10
I probably
10
have the same.
subscriptions, and totally fine. If that is totally fine, especially if that keeps you from going out and spending $100 on the movies every week, if that keeps you from going out to the bar and racking up a $200 bill there. Like,
Yeah.
it's also about balance.
Sure.
Mhm.
So it's realistic and balance would be my two biggest points about that. Is you also, it's just like a diet. You can't fully deprive yourself of something
Mhm.
without craving it,
Yes.
Mhm.
because it's just, and
Yes.
that's the reason that I brought up the sunglasses. Is it was like, well, if I can't get the sunglasses, what's the even point of doing all of this? Because I'm never going to be able to get sunglasses ever again if I do this with Stephanie. And it's
Mhm.
like, you're catastrophizing, but like I
Mhm.
get it. It's like, I get it. Eventually you will be able to get those sunglasses.
Yes. Yes.
But right now you need to buy food.
Mhm.
Sure.
You have
So
to
I mean,
eat.
you gotta prioritize. I mean, without eating, you look great in those sunglasses. But I mean,
They'll just fall off.
well,
Nothing to hold them up. I feel like I'm so tired.
I just imagine a skeleton with sunglasses on.
Yes. I'm so happy. Like, but then I'm so glad that you brought up like catastrophizing, because absolutely. And I feel like the absolute key from 2016, still at Rogers, 2016, 2017 to my mid-year 2018 budget is by then I was eating, sleeping, breathing cognitive error DBT work. And so I knew in my head of being able to challenge some of these moments, right? And I knew when I came there, I said, my non-negotiable is I want to get my nails done. And if that means that while I'm in this pilgrim budget, because that's going to be my thing, I will cut out going out, I will cut out eating out,
And
I
you
can
did.
do all of those things. I want to get my nails done still. And she was like, okay, we can make it work. And I said, and if I need to work an extra day at Wells Brothers, I absolutely will. And she was like, okay. And she knows my work ethic, so she knew that I would be good for it, that I would be there if I absolutely like could figure it out or needed to. So that I feel like was such a huge difference. Is you have to be ready, but also have the mindset of like being able to understand that this catastrophizing or black and white thinking isn't going to be helpful. It's not that you will never be able to get sunglasses, but also realistically look at, do you fucking need them? Do you need them? Like, is that effective to buy another pair of fucking sunglasses when you have 10? Do the other 10 work? If they don't, then this is also still just a really great moment of, why are you holding on to 10 broken pairs of sunglasses? Like, go through that shit then. Like, what do you, like, so it's like a twofer. It works both ways, but it was that, I will say that was so imperative, is being able to have done that and still continued. Like, it's not like I stopped doing that work, but continued to do that mindset work, but then also to the honesty part and having someone to be accountable to, and having somebody who I knew who was in my corner, who was going to support me and who wasn't going to placate me. Like, I knew that if I went to her, and there was a couple moments in the 2018 start of that budget until obviously still now budgeting, but I don't message Steph every time that I need to do something. So it's probably helpful for her now that I'm not like, should I get this? What should I do? And she's like, Mari, it's fucking 10 p.m. at night. I would like to go to bed. And I'm like, but what do you think? What do you think I should do? Like, so now I can make my own decisions. But sometimes for bigger things, I'm like, is this sensible? Am I doing this because I feel like I want to do this? Like, am I being realistic? So having that accountability factor and knowing that there wasn't any shame behind it, that this person was going to be unbiased and say like, okay, like, yeah, absolutely. Here's the domino effect of what that might look like though, if you're to do this. So those being realistic is huge. And then writing everything down, of being able to say like, plan for those things. Like, if you don't put, like, you use toilet paper, you have birthday parties, you use paper towel or napkins, and or if you like candles or blah 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 blah, like all of those things, like, make it realistic. Because like, I remember first doing my budget in 2018, she was like, you don't go out to the bar, you don't eat, you don't do anything for entertainment, you don't have an entertainment category. And I was like, oh, all right, I did not put that down there. And I was like, probably a lot. There's a lot of money in that category. And she was like, well, that's disposable. We can take that off. Like, that's something that we can get rid of. So that was huge. The second part of this bigger question is, how does somebody even begin to start to set up a budget?
I think and again, this is me as a person, not me as like, there's probably 100 different ways to do this.
Sure.
For me, it was put it down in writing, make a full list, and actually, let's go back to that week example. Take a week and write down everything that you've done that week. Went to the bathroom, you slept, you made dinner, you went out to eat, you bought gas, you had to pay your car insurance, like all, not your car insurance, but like all the weekly stuff that you would do. Write it down. You watched Netflix and actually look at it. What are you paying for? What are you paying for it? And is it a non-negotiable? Is it somewhere you can live? Is it somewhere you can eat? Is it somewhere you can drink? And is it somewhere you can work? Because if it's not, if you came down to it, you could choose to omit it for a little while.
Okay.
You could not saying that you should. I'm just saying, like,
sure.
Let's use Netflix for an example. Is that Netflix is a bigger bill than you would think, because it's not only just Netflix. It's either your cell phone bill to play Netflix on, or an internet subscription to play it on your TV or your computer at home.
Sure.
So you actually are paying not just $10 for Netflix, you're actually paying like $65 for the internet plus Netflix, which again is not a bad thing. Like me, I work from home, so I have to have internet.
Correct.
So for me, that's a non-negotiable. So the add-on of Netflix is not that much more for me than it would be for someone that does not work from home and is really struggling on immediate debt that they have to pay off, or not being able to pay their rent and things like that. So I think a list, like just being very realistic with yourself for a full week, just write down everything. From there, then try to think about, okay, what do I spend on that in a month? And then you need to split it up between what do I have to pay and what am I choosing to pay? Because that's like a very big difference. And I think what made Mari so successful, besides she is a very hard worker and she is very, when she decides that she wants to be committed to something, she's fully committed.
100%.
Is having someone that you can be accountable to, that you can be vulnerable with.
Yes.
Because like I said, me and Mari tried this 2 or 3 times before the Pilgrim budget became a thing, because she didn't want to have to be that honest to me in the beginning, which depending on what your situation is, you have to be honest.
Absolutely.
Yeah, if you're starting off and you have nothing, like you're 18 years old, you're about to move out of mom and dad's house, look at what your fixed expenses are. What are you making for income, or what are you getting for income? What are your absolute bills, your rent, your food, your all of that? And then try to stick to that, but also work in a savings account to that as well for unexpected expenditures that are going to happen. Because not everyone, I personally think that everyone should have a budget regardless of their current financial standing. Everyone should have it. How you want to set it up is up to you, but to make your money work for you as well, instead of you're working for your money to try and survive.
Absolutely. And if you're not working at a budget or setting a budget, you have no idea where there can be extras put towards like end of life, like care and shit. Like my goal is not to work until I'm fucking 80. So I need to be aware of what I'm spending now and how I can start allocating some of those funds to the shit that is going to start coming back to me at 60, 65, whatever the fuck, whenever my retirement accounts are, like, you can touch them without the IRS beating you to death. But like that is so important. And I will say that too is like, again, with the cognitive error work, those couple times that we tried it before, I was so deep in shame of like, well, because I can't budget, I'm a shitty person. And I don't think that those were like actual conscious thoughts I was telling myself, but subconsciously, absolutely. I have 2 hard-ass working parents. How do I not have more to show for this? I know how to fucking work. I'm a great worker. How can I not do this? And then it would just be that shame spiral of being like, and like, that was the other beautiful thing. The first day that we sat down, she was like, you have enough money, Mari. You're just not allocating it correctly. That's it. Like, you're not aware of what's coming in and when it's coming in, and that's the problem. And I was like, oh, so it's not because I'm a fucking piece of shit dirtbag. Like, because you get so in your head about those things, and without putting it on paper, which is imperative too for cognitive errors, without putting it on paper, you don't see the difference. I do tell a lot of, go ahead.
I was just gonna say I have 2 things. Sorry.
No, go right ahead.
Who's going?
I was gonna say I have 2 things. One is a statement and one is a question. So the statement is, I think there's a beautiful dichotomy between what Mari and I do as therapists and what you're explaining about finances. They're the same thing. Yes. When you come to me with a goal, I want you to be realistic of what you want to work on. Yes. Don't tell me what I want to hear. That's not helpful. Yeah. Show up in vulnerability with somebody that you trust, right? So there's just it's like a beautiful melding of the two. And I love that. But the other thing I was going to ask is, when somebody is trying to build a savings account, is there a good guideline of like, put X amount of dollars from your paycheck in, or is it really just dependent on each person? Because obviously we all make money differently.
Yeah, I personally think it's dependent on each person, because everyone does make money differently and their bills are all coming out at different points in time.
Sure.
But even if you can start off with $5 a month, $5 a paycheck, start somewhere.
Okay.
Just start somewhere. After you start allocating that $5, see how that does with your budget for the month, and then do 10. Then 25, then go up, start small. I always suggest that, unless like you're starting off and you already are like, oh, I am in a great position, everything's good, I can throw $1,000 in there.
Sure.
I don't even do that. That's not realistic, but I don't make that much money. I wish, but I don't.
It'd be so wonderful.
Right. I wouldn't be on this podcast. I'd be too cool for that. No.
I would literally be in Greece.
I was gonna say I would be in Bali on the beach. So
right. Just that. But just starting somewhere too. And so that you have that fallback, even if it's $50 and you realize that you forgot to budget for gas.
Yes.
At least it's there. And just starting it too, because it does, once you hit certain levels of your savings account, you're like, oh my God, I did that.
Yes. And it's exciting and you're so proud. And it's like a dopamine hit of like, I'm putting fucking more in there because this is great.
Exactly. Yes. The only caveat to that is, don't forget that your savings is meant to be spent when it needs to be spent. So once you hit those bigger dollar amounts, 500,000, 2,000, 10,000, things like that, you don't want to spend that money, because you're like, no, I worked hard to get that in there. It's like, yeah, you worked hard to get that in there to give you a little cushion in case you fall. Like that's the whole point.
That's a hard one for me to it's not impossible, but I'm learning to challenge that as like, I put that in there for a reason, and it's okay for me to use it because I'm going to put it back when I can.
Exactly. Because you're not going to stop saving. That's the whole point, is that's going to be a continual account. Even if you pull it out and you invest it, even if you pull it out for a non-essential purchase, things like that. The whole point of having it there is so that you are taking control of your financial situation there. But the thing that I was going to interject before was actually a compliment for both of you guys. You guys aren't on the same side of my screen, so that probably doesn't make any sense, like where I'm pointing at, but Mari's below me and Stephanie's besides me. But no, when you get into the financial situations that you two seem to have, and there's absolutely no judgment, no whatever, you both had to come to Jesus, come to Allah, come to the sky.
Whatever.
Exactly. You both had both of those in a bad way and a good way.
Correct.
And look at where both of you are.
Like, yes.
If either of you didn't have that moment, both of them, both the bad moment and the good moment, both of you would not be as successful as you are.
Correct.
I truly believe that. And I think that people are very afraid of both the failure and success
Absolutely
of those feelings. And I feel like that is a stigma that, like, you're just supposed to be good with money. It's like, that's not how that goes. Like, sometimes you need to fall, get back up, and then flourish again. So it's just to remind the viewers, it's okay to fail.
Yes.
Literally, like you're like people view failure as this absolute. It is not an absolute. It is a lesson. You are learning what works for you and what doesn't. That's what science is about. That's what life is about. That is literally anybody who has made it in life has had these ebbs and flows. Not even like, sure, we can call it failure, but like failure is showing that you have skin in the game. Like you're trying. Like you're not gonna look at a fucking baby who's learning to walk, and when it falls over, be like, "You idiot,
Fucking dumbass baby,
you dumb baby,
you can't walk."
Yes, you're crawling forever. All right,
way to go, way to embarrass me. Like, no,
don't even try.
Yeah. So why are you saying that to yourself?
Yes.
Why are you doing that to yourself? I think the like looking at this point of my budget. I started with one savings account, and I think we started either with 25 or 50, me putting it in. Mm-hmm. And I viewed putting my savings away as a bill. You have to view it as a bill. It's a non-negotiable.
Sure.
Otherwise, it will be viewed as expendable. It's not expendable. Your Netflix account, your fucking like getting your nails done, getting your hair done, any of those things, all of that, gym membership, all that shit can be thrown the fuck away. Okay? You can't throw your savings away. I went from $50 a month, and now my budget, I was just looking as you guys were talking, $1,600 a month as savings, non-negotiable. And that doesn't mean, that doesn't mean that I'm just $1,600 solid is going away in savings, and I'm like, I just got like 50 grand in savings. No, half of that is my fucking IRS tax estimates because of having a business and that not having an employer taking out taxes and stuff. And the government is the government, and they're like, "You're doing great. I need more. Give me more." So none of that is like really personal. Some of it is personal. The 600, it was like 700 is going personally to me, but like. None of that other stuff is, but like I had the ability to do that now. And it started from saying, okay, $25 or $50 is going to me. Like it has to start somewhere. And you can't just be like, oh, well, I'll start when I'm ready or when I have more money to do so. You will never have enough money to do so. You will not get to that point until you've been budgeting for like 2 to 3 years to be like, oh, I have enough money to do now XYZ with it. So it's so like, that's the other thing. It is so important to understand that it is a non-negotiable. It's a bill. Like you have to treat it as such. The nice thing is when you get into these moments of life that are unpredictable, you can validate for yourself that you've done this. Right? These past 9 months, Jeffrey has not been working. His semi has been broken. He has not had a job. That man has had enough savings to carry himself from now, and he could probably go another 6-7 months before it really became detrimental to be able to do that for himself. And I have been able, because of my saving and my budget, to say, don't give me half of what we, split for bills, like just do you, and let's make sure that we're okay. And I've been able to carry the load like that. And we've still done so many things too. That's the other thing. Like we've went camping, we've went out to eat, we've had dates, we just went to a concert. Like, so those, like, that's what I'm saying. Like being able to do this it's so important because it affords you like that moment to have that gratitude for yourself and give yourself that praise of like, look what you've been doing. And I'm not going to say that I'm operating with no credit card budget. I'm not saying that. I definitely have a credit card bill right now. It's probably like $1,500, but I have the savings to cover it. And I know exactly what is on that credit card. I know what I put on there and the purpose or reasoning as to why I put it on there. It's not just this willy-nilly, like, I'm going to do whatever I want. Like, I put Sophia's braces on there because that I don't need to see that reoccurring payment come out of my fucking checking account, assholes. And also I get points for the institution that I'm at. So like, I like to be able to stack up all my points and get discounts. But like, I'm aware it's not just this blind, like, how did it get to be this? It's very calculated. So that's the other thing.
What I was going to say too, Mara, is I feel like your 2018 budget not only taught you about money, but I also feel like it forced you to implement boundaries with other people because you're like, don't ask me to go out to eat, to drink, to do anything because I'm not going. And then you kind of saw like, oh, that's all you want to do is like go out with me? Okay, well,
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
Mhm.
talk to you later then.
And the beautiful thing too is like, if you think I'm so fucking fun, you can pay for me to come out with you.
Sure.
And a couple of times they did. A couple of times these people did. And hey, no skin off my back because you wanted me to be here. I will be the fucking circus act that you need me to be able to, like, if this shit's free, hell yeah, I will act up. I will act the fuck up. Hell, you want to give me a white claw? Done. Like, right? But like I was adamant. And the reason I called my pilgrim bunch a little backstory is because I was like, I'm gonna be living like I am a fucking pilgrim. I am going to learn to do everything with the bare minimum amount.
I'm not even going electricity.
I literally, oh my God, I was so happy I lived alone too. I was like, don't fucking turn the lights on. Who can pick me up?
My leg's not doing
yeah, I can't tell you how many times I walked to the fucking gym when I was going to the gym because the gym was right by my house. I was like, I don't need to get in the car. That's fucking dumb. Like, walk, bitch. And I was like, and it's healthier for you. Look at this is a twofer. You got a BOGO. Like, hell yeah. It absolutely helped me implement boundaries with people and also be able, like, priorities.
Yep.
Like, that is also the time where it was like, bitch, stay home. You have a fucking kid. And I'm not saying that I needed to govern.
Go tanning or go to Target or
yes,
go to lunch.
I was like, well, I also don't need to be getting ice cream every day on my lunch break. Like, I also don't need to do that. Like, that was really not helpful for my fitness goals. Actually. Fitness goals, like my stomach in general, because my stomach's always fucked up, and just also like life in general. But like, I will say that, like, it also taught me to be a better mother, not in the sense that if you have a kid, you have to fucking stay home. But again, I viewed priorities. What can I do that's fucking free with my kid? We can go to the fucking park. Again, BOGO, we can walk to the park because it's close to the house, and we can go there. This is free entertainment. She's going to get exhausted. I'm getting a workout. Like, so many things came from having a budget. There was this giant ripple effect that I had no idea was even going to happen. And I am forever fucking grateful for it. And for the things that it's afforded me to be able to do. I will always be grateful for it. And for your help, Steph, always, for literally until my last breath will probably be like, oh, thank God I did a budget with stuff.
Hey, did the work. You did the work. You made the commitment. It was just some of my knowledge that was able to help. And that's
girl, back up all your knowledge, because I didn't know a damn thing. Okay, let's start there.
But one thing I did want to touch on too is that not all debt is bad debt. Sure. So please do not take that away from this conversation either. A credit score, having credit is a very double-edged sword. Is to build it, you have to have credit.
Sure.
But you just need to be smart with that. You want to have revolving lines of credit. You want to be able to have that financial power when it comes to your credit and your credit score. It's just use it wisely. So please don't misunderstand the kind of topics of this conversation as that you shouldn't have debt. That is not the end all be all here. If that works best for you and that's what you need, absolutely.
Yeah.
But if you can do it wisely as a financial side of it, like a financial institution employee kind of person, I've had plenty of people that were in their 50s or 60s that did, and I hate the Gordon Ramsay method.
Oh God, Jeff was on that for a while, and I was like, if you don't that's not even fucking realistic.
And again, this is me as a person, not me speaking for anyone else.
Right.
But I've had people in their 50s, 60s that are coming through asking for a vehicle loan that have paid for everything in cash their entire life. So I have to treat them like they're 18 because they have no credit. And that is probably the most complaints that I get is that I'm like, I understand where you're at. And yes, you've been a member, a constituent of this financial institution for many, many years, but you have a 0 credit score. You have no proof to me that you can pay this back.
That you can make payments,
Exactly. And so that's very integral too, is you need to make sure that you are understanding the results of your actions. Because
what would be considered good debt?
Good debt would be a revolving credit card that you spend less than 30% of its limit. So a $300 credit card, don't spend over $100 on it, get gas,
I was
get,
just gonna say, so you like get gas on it or something.
yeah, get
Mhm.
gas, get coffee, whatever,
Mhm.
and then pay it off in full every month. Again, but the other part about it is that I love revolving debt when it's when it's managed very well. I always suggest to do 5 credit cards or less total,
Mhm.
store cards, independent cards, overall cards, just never go over 5. Like we see
Mhm.
people upwards of 50 lines of credit just for credit cards.
Literally.
Like
Oh my
legit, like
God.
where I have to keep scrolling and I'm like, oh my, okay. Like,
Steph was like, I'm how much further?
like and it's easier to keep track of, but it's also that's what's there for you in the case of emergencies. I think Steph, you had talked about popping a tire earlier.
Mhm.
You
Mhm.
pop a tire, you forgot to budget for it, you don't want to, you just spent all your savings
Sure.
on a, you know, something or other, your taxes
Sure.
for your business or whatever,
Sure.
and you pop a tire. You have the credit card for a reason.
Mhm.
Mhm.
That is supposed to be there to help you in the event that that happens. But the best rule of thumb is if you don't think you can pay it off at the end of the month, try not to use it, except in
Okay.
emergency circumstances. And I personally, when I first started getting credit cards, is I would keep, this was back in the day, like this is like 14 years ago, where my cell phone was not as pretty as it is now.
Mhm.
When like it was just barely past a flip phone. So I had a little notepad that I would write down what I was spending my money on, so that I
Okay.
knew when I was working, I have to have at least this much to pay my credit card.
Oh,
But
okay.
what I didn't know back then, and this is a very big thing that is a huge misconception. You got a $300 credit card. You're like, hey, I'm going to spend the entire balance of that credit card and then I'm going to
Mhm.
pay it off in full because that's going to show how responsible I am. Don't
Mhm.
do that.
Really?
Stop it.
Don't
Yeah.
do that. The credit bureaus have a field day with that. They want to see you spending less than 30% of that balance.
Interesting.
Yes.
Mhm.
So that's the issue that I had when I first got credit. See, no, I'm not perfect by any means, folks. I am not.
Mhm.
But I had a $300 limit credit card that someone from the restaurant that me and Mari had worked on had helped me get. And I would rack up the full 300, pay it back in full. And I was like, oh my God, I have the best credit
I feel like
ever.
that's what
Doing
they tell
it.
you. I feel like that's what people tell you to do is like just pay it off right away.
Yeah.
You should pay it off right away, except that this is the other part of it. It's a weird cycle.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
and this is a lot of what I've learned just from looking at credit reports on a daily basis, is that the financial institution that you have your credit card through reports about once a month to the
Okay.
credit bureaus. If you pay off the credit card too soon, on your credit report, it's going to reflect as if you never had a balance on it.
Oh.
But if you pay it off, if you rack up the full balance and then it reports to the credit bureau at that moment, now all of a sudden it shows that you max out your credit cards.
Mhm.
So
Interesting.
so that's where that 30% comes into. Again,
Yeah.
use the whole point of having them is for emergencies. If you need to rack it all the way up, you need to rack it all the way up. That's
Mhm.
sometimes that's just what happens. But if you can keep it at 30% or less, that's actually going to build you a very strong credit score. And it's actually going to help with getting eventual increases on them without applying for them.
So I have a question, and if you can't answer
Yeah.
this, please feel free to tell me you can't answer
Yeah.
this. Somebody that I know who also filed bankruptcy recommended that I do this eventually. She's like, so I filed bankruptcy. She was married, blah, blah, blah. She goes, after like a year or two, I went to my bank and I said, I filed bankruptcy 2 years ago. I want to build up my credit. Can I get a small credit card through you? Like, is that possible?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Every institution has different rules and
Sure.
regulations about it. So what I personally suggest is if you've completed it, and I think you had said 2021 you had completed it, have you opened any lines of credit since?
I have not tried to. The only thing I tried
Okay.
to do was apply for like Afterpay, and they're like, sorry, you got denied. And I was like, fuck off. Like, it's Afterpay for like $50. Like, what? No, I haven't tried to do anything.
What I would suggest is, now that it's been almost a year since then, is applying for a $500, $300 line of credit through your financial institution and looking at it that way.
Okay.
That's a nice way to slowly build back up credit, but to make sure that you're being, again, realistic with
Sure.
it. And I
Mhm.
think that I personally, we get a lot of people that are 6 months, 8 months post bankruptcy that are looking for $10,000 credit cards. And I'm like,
No.
I would
not,
literally only trust myself with like 200 to 300. And that I feel like is even, that makes like I have heart palpitations just thinking about it. Cause like,
and that is a really, like, this sounds really bad, but that's a good feeling to
Sure.
have.
Yeah.
Trust that
Yes.
feeling.
yes.
But you can also do what's called a secured credit card, where you have the funds in your account that you're using like collateral against the card, so that it reports differently on your credit. But then for you, in the event that you're like, oh my God, I can't do this, you already know that you have the money in your account to cover it in the case of emergency. Don't do that.
Okay.
Right.
Try
Yeah.
not to do
Literally
that.
don't.
But if that makes you feel more comfortable with rebuilding, that's also a way to go. But I personally just suggest a not secured small limit credit card. Calculate in your head or the calculator or whatever what 30% of that limit is, and that's all you spend on that card.
Okay.
Yeah. And that's a really good way to rebuild. And the slower that you do it, especially after a bankruptcy, the more responsible you're going to look in the eyes of a creditor.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good to know.
Yeah.
This was very informative.
So
I
helpful.
love this.
It's so good. That's why I've been saying financial series, because there's so much to cover, and I think just a good understanding. And I would love to poll our listeners and like get questions that they might have, and just kind of do a Q&A too with Steph, and she'll answer what she can answer. If she can't answer it, she'll just say she can't answer it. And maybe we could figure out a way to direct it. But ultimately, I was like, let's just first break into that you should have a budget. That's not a cognitive error. You should, like, it helps you learn how to be able to function with what's coming in, what's going out, and just makes you more informed of like what's going on, like what your mom is trying to do. Like, be informed, like with that information then comes power of feeling, okay, I have this control, I have this understanding, and I can move forward with it. So any last things, Steph, that you want to say?
The only other pitfall, and I don't want to put him on blast, but my dad.
Love you.
I love my dad very, very much. And he is a wonderfully hard worker, and he's quite an amazing guy. The only thing that me and my mom had ever talked about was that my dad was such a good, hard worker. He earned really, really good money. He fell into the pitfall of, I make good money, I can spend good money.
And do whatever I want with it. Yep.
Yeah.
That is a very big pitfall, which is tying back into why a budget is so important, because then you can see how much money are you actually making versus how much money you're actually spending. Because you can make $100,000, $200,000, $1 million, whatever.
Sure.
But if you're spending $1.2 million, that's not.
Yes. Right. And like, just even looking at that too, like, he makes great money, but also you're one of four. Like, it just takes a lot to feed four people, let alone their own wants and needs and interests and things like that.
Exactly. And where the savings account would have come very handy is my mom had a bunch of medical issues that happened about 16 years ago that prevented her from working again.
Sure.
So they never budgeted for that, to go from a dual income household to a single income household with, granted at that time it was just me and my brother under the roof, but my brother is he's got some mental capacity issues. He's mentally ill, where he will live with my parents forever. And so they had kind of had cognitive thought about that, but they never thought about themselves having issues. And that was just, I just want to be realistic with everyone too, is that, you might make great money, and this might be like, oh, this is the dumbest thing to talk about as a budget. Like, I know what I make. Be realistic with what you actually make net too, because like, great, you make $1 million as gross. How much do you take out for deduction?
Sure.
Is it enough, or is it too much, or whatever, that if something happened in your lifestyle, could you still afford it? So, sorry, that's my last point.
Sorry. That's so important for people to know. Of like, oh, well, my offer letter said this, I signed for this much. That is not what's coming home. That is not what's coming home. And also, just another really good tip: do not fucking count on money you don't have. Do not count or spend money that you don't have in your hand. Oh, well, I'm going to get this. Are you? You have no idea what's going to happen. You have no idea.
That's why I don't count like the next week's sessions as my income, because anybody could cancel, right? Like I don't have control over that. So
very, very smart. Well, it's also the two, like I can't say where I work, but I have encountered many members / constituent that have had fraud on their account where all of their money, if they keep all of their money in their checking account, which don't do that. Don't keep all your money in your checking account. Keep it in your savings. Don't do that. Where they have fraud and all of the money in their account all of a sudden is either gone or frozen. And it can take sometimes a couple weeks for that to get rectified. And that is not fun. Like, and that can happen to anyone. These scammers out there can guess your card number. Like I work for a financial, that's happened to me 3 times.
I got hacked from Target once. Like the Target system got hacked and I was like, wait, where's $1,400 of my money? What happened?
It's great, isn't it? It makes you feel real safe. Like, and I'm
real
not
safe
trying
and
to say
secure.
I don't want to say this to scare people. I want you to be safe and secure with where you're at, but there are a million different things that can happen. And especially a lot of people fall into the young mindset of, oh, nothing's going to happen to me. My account's not going to get hacked. I'm not going to have any medical issues. My dog isn't going to need to go to the vet. My child doesn't need to get the ER bill. Like it doesn't need to have the ambulance bill. Like things happen.
Correct.
Things happen.
And I'm so glad you said that.
I'm going to try and stop preaching now.
No, because I'm gonna say one thing that I will die on this hill. Please stop buying animals you cannot fucking mentally and financially afford. Stop it. I was speaking to myself back in 2013, Mari, but also I've stopped now. I'm speaking to you, the listener. I can't tell you how many fucking clients were like, so I got a pandemic puppy. And I was like, oh, okay. So you were already stressed the fuck out. You already couldn't manage your kid working from or doing school from home, which I get. I'm not, there's no shade, no tea there. I couldn't either. I'm not a teacher. But you thought, you know what? You know what's going to fix this? A dog,
an infant,
a cat, and here's the thing: I'm not going to budget for the fact that this animal will get sick. Because they're stupid.
Have to get shots. Will have to go to the vet constantly.
They're stupid. They're going to eat something that they shouldn't eat. They're going to do some shit they shouldn't do, or you'll get like my situation. Got a purebred like pedigree animal who then came with, after we got him tested, 19 different allergies and needed daily allergy shots. So even when you think you're doing the right thing, can you physically, reasonably, financially, emotionally afford that? I'm not saying you can't have animals out here. Please understand that. I'm not saying you can't have animals. I'm saying you need to, in life, in anything, if you want something, you need to live as if you have that thing, object, whatever it is, for a couple months, because that will build the savings that you need to realistically afford that thing, whatever that it is, and then you can have it. So I tell, like, when we were talking about, younger kids who are starting out with a new budget, even talking to them, you want to move out, act as if you have an apartment then for a few months. Take that money, put it aside, put it in a savings account, act like you got some sense of like, okay, I got to pay my own groceries. I got to do this. I got to do that. I got to do, get your budget out there. If you can't do that, that's okay, but know that you can't be out there and you're not going to fall then. Like you're delaying a little bit of time and being able to build up that savings before you actually like need to go do that.
Yep.
Does that make sense?
And this also goes to, I am not perfect by any means. I moved out by myself, like not living with a significant other or anything, for the first time this year, like not living with family, not living with a significant other or whatever. It cost $3,000 to get everything that I needed for my house.
Disgusting.
Yes.
Like, and I'm like, how do 19-year-olds do this?
Literally.
And they don't.
And I don't have great, like, magnificent things. Please do not like think that I'm not bougie. Like, I think I have one expenditure in here that's like, that I was like, yeah, I'll pay the price tag for that one. But like everything else is very minimal because I'm cheap. That's just who I am as a person. But like afterwards, I was just like, oh my God, I already
Dude.
spent so much money. And like, and for me, even like you guys, I do this as a living, and like I grew up this way. It was even a shock to me. Granted, a lot of other people are going to fall into this category where it was a very unexpected chain of events.
Yes.
that sometimes you can't predict these things, and that sometimes it's going to happen. But if you're making the choice to do that, please listen to Mari.
Yes. God.
Yes.
I can't wait till we do another episode. Because we're gonna. Everyone is going to be so financially responsible. Anyway, okay. So, you can find us at Rewriting Her Story Podcast on Instagram and Gmail. You can find Steph at The Spooky Therapist on Instagram. You can find me at BEA_XO11. You cannot find Stephanie. She does not have an Instagram, which I love about her. But also, we brought Stephanie on to talk about her wealth of knowledge about budgeting and things like that, but not to have her inundated with budgeting questions. If you have budgeting questions or want to talk to me a little bit more about it, please send me a DM. I live to speak about budgeting and what it's done for my life and how it's changed my life. Because again, guys, it's not like I had $100 and I was like, oh my God, I don't know how I'm going to pay off this credit card. But I'm telling you, it was like upwards, I think it was like $8,000 some that it was like you have to fucking pay that. Like it was the IRS and my property taxes were the bulk of it. I can't go to the city or Racine and be like, guys, I don't agree with this amount, so I'm just gonna pay a little bit, okay? And the IRS was like, pay it or we'll kill you. Like fucking now. Like, so please understand, it wasn't like this, like, oh, maybe I won't. I had to. So I love talking about it, I love preaching about it. If you want some help, awesome. I will not be your financial coach.
We're not financial advisors, guys.
Yeah, I'm not a financial advisor. If you want to pay me to be your financial person who, stays with you, I'll fucking do that all day. But know that I'll give you what has helped me. I'll answer some questions, but I won't just consistently be following through with your financial journey. If you don't feel comfortable with a financial coach, then a therapist can also help with that, of being an accountability factor, right? They're not going to help you set it up, but they can absolutely say, like, this is a goal that you had. Let's talk about how you're sticking to that goal. Mm-hmm. So, this is awesome. I love you so much. I love you so much. Thank you for your time on a Sunday morning, because there's so many better things to be doing on a Sunday morning. I could
sleeping.
Yeah, exactly. Sleeping. If you guys have any questions, concerns, comments, let us know. Otherwise, we'll see you next time. Bye.
Bye.